I was the only one in the room with her when, she took her last breath. And I think even in that moment, she was like,
the longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive the return ticket is.
They tell us on these memes, it's like how great your kid does. It's a reflection on, no, your child's journey is your child's journey.
Showing up in life with self-confidence is such a cheat code to be able to do literally anything you want. If people understood that they could do literally whatever they want, if they just decide, they can. And then they just go do it.
They are going to do what you do more than they do what you say. Sometimes kids just have to go their own way. And the funny thing is,
you've done some awesome things, but one of the favorite things that I think that you've done from my perspective is show up as a dad. And I want to just highlight that because even though it's technically last on your list, like you talk about all of the awesome things you've accomplished, but they are all an exclamation point on showing up as a dad. Like it's just, hey, these are just stuff, but I show up as a dad. And like what I see from you and how you champion your kids and go out there and like, even the stuff you're doing now to write books about like the athlete's mindset, which I imagine is really to help in probably your son's journey, I'm guessing. There's all of these things. It's like, you yourself have done some awesome stuff that most people would be like, hey, cool, look at me, I'm amazing. That stuff for you is almost just like background noise to using your platform and everything that you've learned through that to show up as a dad. And man, I just commend that. That's awesome.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah. The most fun part is the dad part. I mean, definitely more fun than anything else is that. So for me, it's it's kind of like I just want them to have, and I think it's a lot of dads, I just want them to have all this stuff and the things that I wish I would have had in that time. And for me, it was like, both my parents were amazing, but they really were your typical, 80s, 90s parents, which was like, hey, we're going to work and we're going to provide for, your life and you do the rest. Which I guess, in some instance, some sense kind of helped us, but it's like, I kind of always wish that, someone would have said, okay, look, you want to be a musician or you want to do this? Let's roadmap this together. And so, hopefully I'm able to do that with my kids, kind of help them roadmap their little lives together.
Have you ever had to have that conversation with your parents?
No, because honestly, it's funny. When I was younger, I was like, man, why didn't you guys do this, whatever? But man, Jim, it's odd to say even in my stepping into the part of my being a dad was, that stuff gave me some real go get it and some real grit that I don't think I would have had, any other way. And so, the balance now is giving that same grit and go get it to my kids, as well as, helping them kind of get along the path. It's like, that's the interesting balance. Cause and my parents, they're really, they were working 9 to 5 and plus, and it really wasn't an option, for them. It's like, we had to have, lights on and food on the table, and, they're products of the 60s and 70s. It's like, there was no internet. They grew up in an era of you work and that's what you do. So,
yeah. The reason I asked that is, I assume you and I are relatively around the same age. And it's like this weird spot kind of right in the middle where now you have done enough self-work to understand like, you've accomplished some stuff yourself, but now you're looking for purpose. But at the same time, like you have to have that relationship with your parents and then show up for your kids. Right. And I think the hard part, one of the things I went through was like, you don't in any way, shape or form want to make your parents or let your parents think, hey, they disappointed you or they let you down. Right. They did the best that they possibly could. And like, you got to acknowledge that fact and give them tremendous honor and credit for what they did with what they had. right? And like you're now in this position where you want to give your kid even more, but at the same time, you can't disrespect your parents for what they gave to you. And
Right.
like having that conversation up and down at the same point is a
Yeah.
really difficult spot to be, right?
Yeah, man. It's like you get appreciation as a parent. I'm gaining appreciation for a lot of things my parents did and were or weren't able to do. It's like so. Yeah, it's interesting. You're trying to like level up the generations, if you
Right.
will, and still kind of honor both journeys. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's fun though. It's fun.
it is. And especially like, what you talk about too with threading that line or walking that line, whatever expression you want to use, with like how to build capable kids, right? Because you don't want to do everything for them,
Right.
because then that winds up creating soft kids who are, not capable of caring for themselves. But at the same
Yes.
point, you don't want to ignore them and then give
Right.
them too much. So like trying to balance that part, how do you manage that? How do you find that?
I kind of it's all kid led. It's funny because the kid led, I say, not like, what do you want to do, Joe, whatever. It's like here are the options. Which ones you want to pick? And then I don't think that's the one, but let's try it. Or I think this would be better and you don't want great. But we're going to do something. We're not going to just, float. You need to do something. So I would say it's kid led in the fact that it's kind of like giving the same nudges that I received as a kid, but also allowing for some self exploration and I tell them, look, like my eldest that, is in college now. I'm like, at the end of the day, this is your journey. And then it's like, I'm not going to be the one that's going to have to suffer from your consequence, from your choices or benefit from, your good choices. So at some point, you know, this is your deal. And I love you enough to go, hey, I gave you all the tools I could give you. So now it's your turn to put it together. So I hope that
Right.
answered your question. I hope that wasn't like too.
No, it does. I mean, what I'm hearing you say is sort of like you give them the keys to the car,
Right.
but you put up some guardrails. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to send you in this direction. It's up to you to steer the wheel. I'm going to be there to like make sure you don't crash off the side of a cliff. But
Right.
like what happens in between those guardrails is entirely up to you.
Right. And sometimes, Jim's like, you want to go off the guardrails. It's like, obviously, you want to make sure that, they're not going into something that's life endangering, but it's like, so you want to go over there? Hey, let's give it a shot. I always remember that story
Yeah.
about The Rock, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? He tells a story about how he wanted to play football his whole life. And at some point he was like, I want to do something else. I want to do wrestling. And he told his dad, I want to do wrestling. And his dad, the original Rock Johnson, was like, you are throwing it all away. Because from his dad's perspective, it's like wrestling in the 70s and 80s is not the same wrestling that he stepped into, when he stepped into it. So he's thinking, we're in this apartment. I've wrestled my whole life. We're in an apartment in Florida. I can't really, help you do anything. And you want to do this? But then The Rock was like, yeah, I do. And had his dad not been like, okay, I know, great, let's try it. Had he not let him go off the guardrails, we would not know The Rock. So there's sometimes some exploration going off the guardrails too. So,
It's a good point. I never really thought about it that way. Do you think there's some aspect to being self-secure as a parent and not worrying about the success of your child determining your success as an adult? Does that make sense?
1,000,000,000%. Yes, it makes, because we attach like our success as a parent to what our kid was able to do sometimes. And it's like, yes, I can totally connect with that. But here's something that I hope will help maybe some parents out there who are doing that. And that is the two have nothing to do with each other. And I know that's hard for us to because we all think, they tell us on these memes, it's like how great your kid does. It's a reflection on, no, your child's journey is your child's journey. And this is coming from someone, who believed and felt that stuff for a long time. That was like, hey, if get A's or whatever. It's a reflection on my guidance. It's like, no, sometimes kids just have to go their own way. And the funny thing is, if you gave them a foundation, even like, not trying to get like too spiritual, but like even like the prodigal son story, right? This dad poured into this kid like nobody's business. Like they had everything and he gave his son everything. That son was still like, nah, I'm going to go out and do my own thing. And he went out and did his own thing, ended up finding himself in like a pig trough or something like that, I think is the story.
Right.
And he was like, you know what? I'm going to go home. They always return to the things you laid the foundation for, like in that story. And that journey has nothing to do with you. Your job, in my belief, is to give them the foundation and let them put together their puzzle, however they're going to put it together. But
And you think there's a good part of that starts with doing that work for yourself first so that you can show up completely in your own life, then handling everybody else.
What does the Beastie Boys say? That hypocrite smokes 2 packs a day, right? It's like, dude, they are going to do what you do more than they do what you say. So if you can set the example in your own life, one, I always like to tell, my friends, it's like, you're someone's kid too. There's someone looking at you going, man, I really hope they live the best life that they can live. I really hope they go out and get those dreams that they have. There's someone doing that for you, even though you're 40, 50, 55, whatever. So honoring your own journey is one of the biggest things I think you can give any of your kids by showing them what it can look like.
I love that.
Yeah.
And do you think there's a part of that too, where like your kids then look at you and see, again, you want to go through that laundry list of awesome things you've done, but you don't rest on that. Like you then push forward into, hey, I'm going to show up now and give that same level of effort to showing up in your lives and being a dad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Because your kids, they just think, I mean, I've done like television, film, Broadway shows, all this other stuff. And anytime I tell my kids, like my youngest who wants to do music or acting, they're like, yeah, sure. Okay. My teacher said, and you're like, that's great. I honor that. But it's like, they see it, but I think they don't value your advice in the moment. I think later on when they become adults, that's when you kind of see the adoption of your work ethic, the things that you did in life. And I start to see that come back around to like 20, they're 20, 21-year-old. You're like, oh, okay. You were watching, you were paying attention, kind of a deal.
Yeah. Well, I think it probably happens even earlier than that, right? Because it's the culmination of years of really quiet work.
Right.
And like, we don't tend to shine a spotlight on it unless you're like the type of person who really looks for it, right? You've done a lot of work on yourself and now you look for it. But I think there's this experience that we go through as parents where like, yes, you want the best for your kid. Yes, you want to give them everything they ask for, right? You don't want to disappoint your kid.
No.
But like, if you're not doing that work first, what you're doing is setting yourselves up for disaster later.
Yes.
Because your kids are going to know who you are, right? They're going to see through that, and they're either going to resent you for it, for being that hypocrite, or they're going to honor you for it.
Right.
They're going to say like, you're going to see the fruit of that effort. And like, what is the last thing to grow on a tree? The fruit. And yes, it takes a lot of time, but it's the sweetest freaking part. Yeah. So like, I think it's just encouragement as you're raising your kids to put in that work. And yes, it might not show fruit for 15, 20 years, but eventually it's going to, and you want to make sure that fruit is not bitter, right?
Yeah. 100%. Yes. And then speaking of fruit trees, it's like, it's funny that you brought up fruit trees because we have like some apple and it's like we planted in our yard or whatever. And sometimes the pear tree, as you guys know from having it, sometimes it'll like produce all these pears, like, oh my gosh. And the next year, 1 or 2. And the next year, all these. So it's like, it's also cyclical, it's like sometimes in their life, you're going to see all the fruit from the work that you did. And sometimes you're going to be like, oh, there really wasn't much to happen in this cycle of whatever it is in their life. But next cycle may
Yeah.
be like, here it is again, you know?
You know what never changed? The tree.
So, yeah. Hey,
Like that tree
exactly.
is capable of
Yeah.
some pretty cool stuff. But you
Yes.
don't go out there and start like cursing the tree and cutting the tree down or yelling at the tree because it only gave you
Right.
2 pears this year.
Right. You only gave me 2 pears this year. It's time to get rid of it. It's like, no, we'll see you next year. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, I love that.
Exactly.
How important do you think it is to like have that level of patience? Like it's got to be some level of aggressive patience though, I think, right?
Yeah. So here's something I learned along this whole child rearing, raising thing that I hope will help someone out there who may be getting started or maybe in the middle of it. Anything you see that bothers you in them, it bothers you because there's a part of you that's doing the same thing. So if you can fix it in yourself first, it'll bother you less. And it also finds a funny way of fixing it in them. And it's like, that has been one of the biggest gifts. It's like, wait a minute, why is she not doing whatever? Why is she not going after it when she knows I've got her back and I'm going to help her? Well, why are you not going after it? Why are you not pursuing whatever it is in your life? Because oftentimes they're a mirror of your actions in your life. So that helps you have patience because you're realizing, oh, there's a part of me that's doing this too. At least it's helped me, you know? Yeah.
I agree. But I think for a lot of people who are new on that journey of like doing the self work, that is a really uncomfortable thing to admit. Is that like you're not perfect?
But that's the work, man. It's the success and what the feeling good is on the other side of that discomfort. And I mean, we can fight it. We can say no, but it's like, as my kids say, like they always like to show up because they're, big on TikTok and all the other things. Like, this person knows 5 easy steps to do. It's like, okay, they might help you do the hard work, but the trick and the easy way is still the hard work. So to those parents, it's like, we don't have to like it, but it is what it is, as they used to say,
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think it's also more encouragement to like lean in and do it yourself first.
Mhm.
And like it reminds me of the expression, the longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive the return ticket is. Because I feel
love that.
like, hey, if you're a parent who's like recognizing this thing in your kid or even yourself,
Mhm.
the longer you delay and deny that, that restorative process, the worse
Yeah.
it's going to be. Right. So it's just
Hey.
encouragement to just like own it. And I know it's uncomfortable, but I actually think you shared this on your social the other day. Like if you're afraid of doing the hard work or of avoiding difficult conversations or something like that, you should see the result of not doing it. Right. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just incredible how easy it is though for us to ignore that in the moment. Right. So
Yeah.
what advice would you say like to give to someone to really just bear down and be comfortable being uncomfortable?
It's a muscle, and this is speaking from someone who struggled with that and still has, moments where I struggle with being uncomfortable, and doing uncomfortable things. It's like, the thing I would say to you is maybe try the small uncomfortable things and work your way up to the big uncomfortable things. But like you said, the return ticket is so much more expensive the longer you wait. So as much as it's going to sting, as much as you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be horrible or hard, know that on the other side is everything that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What relationship do you think that has with self-confidence? And let me say this to give you some more context of what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
I'm thinking in terms of sports, right?
Okay.
Because my son, who is 12 currently,
Mhm.
suffered with some sports-related anxiety a couple years
Yep.
ago. And one of the things that we found was for him, building up his self-confidence in small acts
Mhm.
gave him the confidence to go out there and do larger and larger, right?
Mhm.
To where he then grew that. And it was keeping the promises you make to yourself. Right.
Oh
And
man.
I'm a big believer that self-confidence is just keeping the promises you make to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that sports especially is an easy one to see. Yes, you have to have some level of skill or talent,
Right, right, right.
but when you go out there with self-confidence and you play with confidence,
Hmm.
it's this different level of just flow that
Right,
happens.
right, right.
And that happens in everything else you do, whether it's performing, whether it's music, whether it's, I don't care what work you do, but
Yeah.
like showing up in life with self-confidence is such a cheat code to be able to do literally anything you want.
Yeah.
And I feel like if people understood that they could do literally whatever they want, if they just
Mhm,
decide, they can. And then they just
mhm.
go do it.
Right,
Like, I know that
right.
sounds super simple, but am I wrong on that?
No, no. The problem that happens is, I think with a lot of people, there are so many voices that give you limiting beliefs, I mean, that tell you, oh, it's not possible because of this. It's not possible because of that. And then when you run into maybe a little challenge, which you're going to do no matter where you go, you're going to run into challenges. Then you start thinking, well, are they right? Maybe this isn't. And so I think, like you said, keeping your word to yourself is a great first step. It's like, I told myself I'm going to do this many reps today, or I'm going to do this many, whatever it is that you're going to do. And you actually do them. I think definitely gives you a lot of confidence, keeping your word to yourself. Because a lot of times we don't keep our own word to ourselves.
Right.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you? You can't even trust yourself to do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
Start there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I think then people fall into, they make justifications for anything. Right. And you could justify your way out of whatever. And I think like, hey, if you said, I'm going to go run a mile today,
Right.
but it's raining or your feet hurt or you could only run half a mile. And then
Right.
now you start this downward cycle of just beating yourself up. And then tomorrow you don't even
Mm,
try.
right.
And I feel
Right.
like for that person, you got to flip that script a little bit and say, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to continue showing up and putting in work. Maybe you don't have to define how many miles or what pace. But I
Right.
think, like, again, the cheat code for me, at least that I've seen, is literally just never stop showing up. If you just don't quit, if you just keep showing up and trying, you could do literally anything
Yeah.
because it's just that straightforward. You just got to not stop showing up.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Sean Lynch talked about that. And one thing I saw, he goes, I'm going to hit the gap so hard. And yeah, someone might stop me. And he goes, but I'm going to keep hitting that gap as hard as I can. And eventually that offensive lineman, that linebacker is going to think about it and start moving me out of the way because I'm like, I'm going to be here every time. And I'm going to be here every time with the same intensity. And it's like, that's like you said, that's life. It's like, if you just keep showing up, things tend to move out of the way. Things tend to align and back you up. It's like, but the thing is showing up no matter what. Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey personally, like
Mm,
going from you as a child to you
mm.
achieving these was Broadway a dream of yours?
Making music for a living was a dream of mine. Broadway was a part of the journey, but it was not on the radar at the beginning. I just wanted
Mhm.
to live life as a musician.
So take me through then the journey of being a kid who's got a dream to make
Mm.
music and then achieving that. What was that journey like for you?
Man, I was a stubborn kid. So it started kind of with, singing in church. My mom was like, I was singing around the house. I loved singing around the house. And she's like, you're going to sing in church this Sunday. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, you are. And I was like, okay, so I am. So anyways, I go and I do this thing and I get a standing ovation. And when I was nervous, like crazy nervous, I don't think I remember any walking up to the stage or any of that stuff. Oh man, getting some sentimental moments. Anyways, so I'm singing that song and they stand up and they give me a standing ovation. And from that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And the journey after that was like, a lot of, you know, uh, the doubting things and, you should probably think of something else you want to do because so and so is really good and they weren't able to do it as a musician and this person over there and I was just stubborn and I just kept going. I kept showing up, as we were talking about before. And after that, it's like I got a college scholarship doing for music. So I did 3 years there and school. And then one of the upperclassmen, when I was a freshman, he was like the super musician, that we all look up, the senior that we all look up to when we get there. He went out into the world and he said, I can't really, kind of find work doing what I want to do. So I'm coming back to get my graduate degree. And I thought, well, dude, if you can't do it, I'm going to probably not be able to do it anyway. So since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and try it. So I just saved up my money, moved to LA, junior year. My parents and speaking of going off the guardrails, my mom was like, you have 1 year left. What do you like? Why would you not just finish? I'm like, well, I saw what happened with him, so I might as well just give it a shot. And so I went out there and gave it a shot. $1,500 in my pocket, didn't know anybody, had never written music or songs, could barely play any instruments. And because I kept showing up and I was like, I'm going to figure this out, ended up touring the world, singing a cappella music, ended up, having a record deal and all the other stuff. And it's really a testament to, it's like if you just keep showing up, you keep figuring it out and you keep moving towards your goal, anything really is possible. I mean, I didn't know anybody when I got there. So the statistics say I should have, it should not have worked. But I was like, this is going to work and I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to keep, failing forward. So, and I'm not magic, dude. Like I anyone out there will tell you, it's like, I have no magic wand. It's like, I just made the decision and was like, I'm going to figure this out no matter what.
That's amazing. And when I say this part, I don't want to discredit any of the work you've done personally, because I'm sure that journey took a lot of work from you. But one of the things that I heard in that was your mom speaking possibility into you. In that initial part where you did not want to go sing at church. And your mom said, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Right. And her showing up as that parent to kind of encourage you and speak possibility into you, set you on a path, whether you realize it or not. And that is wild to look back and see.
Yeah. That's why I told like anyone who asks me about like stuff with their kids, I'm like, dude, speak unbelievable possibilities into their lives. It's like, say you're the greatest you're going to be. Obviously, the great thing that my mom gave me, and my dad too, but really my mom gave me in those moments of development, was she would speak amazing possibilities into like what I could do, but she would also, I'll never forget this. Like I was in high school, we were doing some talent show or something like that. And all the people were like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. That was the best thing, blah, blah, blah. And I went to go see my mom because she was very, very honest and very critical. And she was like, it was good, but you can do better. And I was like, oh, like those moments though of knowing that she was going to be the one that goes, it was good, but there's better in you, drove me to be like, okay, I fed off of that because it was like, I know when she tells me it's good, when she goes, that was great, I know it's going to be pretty darn great. And I appreciate her for that so much because, I went into the world with this idea of like, when people would say, oh my gosh, that was such an amazing performance, I would go, well, what would my mom say? Would she say that was amazing? Or are there some things I can work on to make it even better? And so, yeah, I loved both of those, the possibilities and also the critical, you can do better than that, that she gave me. Yeah.
Well, it just highlights the importance of that open, honest conversation, right? And just the realness of showing up in your kids' lives. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be this like Hallmark scene where mom's like standing there with a big oak tag sign saying, you're amazing. Right. But it's just the realness and that relationship aspect that I think people miss out on. Right. They try and make it so perfect and so polished that we forget like the realness factor of relationship. So how do you go from music to authoring books?
Honestly, it was a desire again to show up for my kid. He wanted, and is still on his journey to do basketball stuff, and he wanted to do that. And I wanted to learn like how to help him. And I knew what it took to be a professional musician, and I knew the grind and the relationships, and also knew what it was like to kind of start your own business because I was able to do that as well. Um, so we live in Denver, and we were able to. A lot of those gentlemen were here in the beginning of his journey. He played for some of their AAU teams when they were here, and so I started asking them, how do you work on your mindset? How do you work on, making sure that you stay confident in the moment? And they hopped on podcast episodes with us, and so you got to hear it straight from them. And then people started asking, how are you helping your son with confidence? They saw the transition. They saw him go from, the kid who comes from the YMCA who's just happy to play to the kid who's like, stressed out about or anxious about the situation. And then back to the kid of like, oh yeah, I can do this, and I was like, how did you help them make that transition? And so I found myself at the end of, games kind of talking with parents about what we learned from the interviews and things of that nature. And after a while, I was like, I should probably just write this down, so that more people can have it. And so I did some writing courses because I want to understand like how to write a book and so I started just really laying out the things that I kept seeing appear in our conversations with these pro athletes and how I used them, to help, my son with his mindset. And it turned into a book. And then people around, Colorado started buying it and using it. And they're like, my kid actually reads it. They actually like it. They like hearing the audiobook with Moses reading it. And, it's really helped them so much. And I guess it just grew and grew and grew into what it is today.
I love that. I think one of the coolest parts about all of your stories is they change the definition of normal, right? In your house, what does normal mean? I don't know that there is a definition of normal that's not just doing literally whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's like, hey, if you decide you can do that, you just do it. Because I think so many kids grow up with this definition of normal that's like, wake up, eat 2 scrambled eggs, go work a 9 to 5, come home, go on 2 weeks vacation a year, and do literally nothing memorable for the entire life. And like, if that's your dream, so be it.
Right.
But like what I'm hearing you do is show your kids an example of you could do literally anything you want if you just decide you're going to do it, and then just don't stop showing up. Like it's literally been given to them that simply that anything is possible, and that's normal for them, man. What a gift.
Again, it's like I saw it, in life. It was like a friend of mine when I first got there to LA, I had a music job, which was kind of cool, but it was seasonal. And after that, I needed some work. And so I used to work for the Gallup polls when I was in Houston. And so we did phone surveys. Long story short, I went to this other kind of Gallup poll place called Adept Consumer Testing, where we called people and asked them to come in and do surveys. One of my good friends that I met there, we were both brand new to LA, is Octavia Spencer. And we were both like just people just work. We had no idea where our lives were going to go. We had no idea if anything was going to happen, but we knew we were going to be here and we're going to figure this out. And, it took her 15 years from the day that we met in that fun office job for her to win her first Oscar and to have her star on the Walk of Fame. It's like she just kept showing up. We just kept showing up. How many people probably went home on your 4, 5, 6, 7? 15 years is a long time.
Yeah.
But she's now friends with Oprah and Taraji and all those people. She has a star and she has an Oscar. It's like, I'm sure she'd do it again for 15 years,
Yeah. Did you have a fear of rejection before you started that phone call job? Because if not, I'm sure that helped.
Initially, when I first did it in Houston, yeah, because it was like, I'm calling someone's house. And here's the thing, just for anyone who gets a call from someone doing a survey or telemarketing, we don't know it's your dinner time. I can't tell you how many times I heard, do you know it's dinner time? No, I don't, because I'm in Houston and your number is like wherever it is. So, anyways, for those people that get that call, they don't know it's your dinner time. They're just calling because you're on the list of people to call. But to answer your question, yeah, initially I did. It was kind of like my door to door or phone to phone salesman moment of like, yeah, they're going to hang up on you. They might, say some choice words to you. They might yell at you. There you go. I'm sorry. And you keep it going.
You think that helped you further in life?
Probably did. Yeah. Knowing that,
I feel like that's a thing that a lot of people could benefit from. It's like so many people are just afraid of someone saying no. And
yeah.
like one of the best things I heard about that was if someone told you your dream was on the other side of 13 no's, how fast would you go out there and chase that no? But like the answer to whatever your dream is on the other side of some number of no's, right?
Mhm.
We might not know what that number is, but
Right.
like if you just go out there and keep chasing it, you're going to get it. But like we don't
Yeah.
because we're so afraid of some person we don't even know saying something to us, just the air that comes out of their mouth
Yeah.
is preventing us from chasing our dreams. How
Yeah.
ridiculous does that sound?
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Speaking back to my mom, she gave me that gift because she used to she was really generous and gave to like everyone. And Jim, the thing that she taught me in her passing, a few years back was that when I was there with her, I was the only one in the room with her when, she took her last breath. And I think even in that moment, she was like, you can do all these things and worry about all these people's opinions and all what this, but at the end of the day, you are doing this and you came into this world by yourself and you're leaving by yourself. So on this journey, you need to make sure that you are okay with yourself. Period. All the rest is what it is, but you need to make sure that you are good with you before anybody else's opinions or thoughts or whatever.
Of that. That's so true. Because I mean, how often do we make decisions based on what we think someone else is going to say or do or not say? And like
Right.
we literally change our lives based on other people's opinions. And how many of those other people are just not happy with themselves? And they're not even thinking about you. They're just taking out their unhappiness on you.
That part. They're not thinking about you. We think all these people have all these ideas and they're judging and thinking. I told my kid, like my daughter, I was like talking to her, I go, cause she, is in that stage where like other people's opinions matter a little more to her. I go, what's your best friend's name? Say it's Samantha or whatever. I go, what was Samantha wearing yesterday? And she'll go, I don't know. And I go, exactly. You can't even remember what your best friend was wearing yesterday. Yet you think all these people are thinking about you 24/7. They're not. They're thinking about themselves just like you are, just like Samantha is, just like they're not thinking about you. I love that you said that. Yeah.
Mm.
So true.
It really makes me think about theater, to be honest. Like for a moment in time, you are that person's theater.
Right.
They see you, they're entertained by whatever the thing is, whether they're inspired, motivated, pissed off, who cares? But
Right.
you're just a fleeting moment in their lives.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then they go on and they do
That
whatever
is
else.
it.
And then you also get to go on and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But so many people, they get themselves stuck on that stage thinking about what everyone else thought in that moment. And they put themselves in a position of being a prisoner of that moment.
Yes.
And man, does that suck.
Yes. Yeah. No, they're not thinking. That's the biggest gift you can give. They are not thinking about you. You are thinking about you, but they are not.
Yeah. And even if they are for a moment, like how much do you find that that's just a reflection of who that person is?
Right.
Like you get some hate from somebody,
Right.
you know deep down, and it's got really nothing to do with you. That generally 9 times out of 10, unless you're an awful person, which I know that you supposedly are not, but like unless you're an awful person doing awful things, the majority of the time, people talking crap, those people are just unhappy in their lives. You are just the recipient of the moment. Like, let it be that simple. Don't take that deep because it's not.
It's not. It's not that deep. Yeah, it really isn't. And as a young person, it's hard to understand that because I think for young people specifically, it's like you still feel like, you're well, you are the center of your universe, but you feel like you're the center of everyone else's. And it's like, you're really not, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
When
you
you get older,
think,
you realize that. Yeah.
well, we talked a little bit about faith before, and I don't know how deep you go on faith, but I'm going to
Mhm.
ask the question because you said, if you are the center of your universe,
Mhm.
and I know you didn't mean that specifically for this question, but it made me think about like the idea of having faith,
Mhm.
about having belief in God, to put God in the center of that universe, because then it's bigger than just you, right?
Mhm.
I think that for a lot of people, it's an important step to have that level of faith because it gives you something to live for that is
Mhm.
bigger than just yourself, right? So,
Mhm.
what is your perspective on that? I'd love to hear it.
So I have a very interesting perspective on that because, I was raised, very much in Southern Baptist Church. I was like, we went Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We went every day. And, as a kid. And so, I really got into, just because of my parents and my mom and dad, like reading and understanding, the Bible and things of that nature, and just the spiritual practice. One thing that really resonates me from what you asked me was, a couple of things. Number one is, placing that idea of service to something outside of yourself, is always something that I operate from. It's like, how can I serve the people or, the cause or whatever outside of myself with the information or with the ability that I have? And that always makes it so much more fulfilling, for me. And the second thing is, really understanding, because there were two verses that, kind of popped in my head when you said that. And the first one was, the verse that says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." So, um, and then it goes on to say I think it's in Luke or something like that. It goes on to say that Jesus was saying, "The kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, is within you." And, uh, those two made me go, "Wait a minute. Okay, so for me, that interpretation means seek an understanding of the wonderfulness and the healing and the God energy that is within you. Seek understanding to know that within yourself first, and all the other things you're looking for, the success, the accolades or whatever, the friends or whatever. Once you know that within yourself, all the other stuff will be added to you." And what's funny
Right.
about that in my journey, once I got to really know, that spirit, that source, that God that's in myself, you really don't crave the other things. It's nice that they show up. You're like, "Oh, that's cool. I got this thing, or I got that accolade, or I got that award. That's fun." But you don't really need it. You know what I mean?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
100% know what you mean. And I tend to think those things find themselves to you easier than if you were out pursuing them. Like once you reach that point where you're
Mhm.
operating from within, from that purpose, like
Yeah.
all these things that you used to like hustle and grind for, they start being attracted to you because you are operating on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's funny because it's like, it's a weird space. I think, Jim Carrey and Will Smith are talking about it, both in separate interviews, totally separate of each other. They said, "I wish people could get all the things they think they want just to find out that it's just stuff." And it
Yep.
is so true. It's just stuff. And it's hard to say to someone who, is like climbing towards those things, but I like them. I wish everyone could get the stuff they think they want, so they could be like, "Oh, it's just stuff. Now I can focus
Yeah,
on, my own personal and self-development and making this life journey what I want it to be."
it's true. And I think like there's a struggle point with that too, because to what you said, for someone who's pursuing that,
Mhm.
you can't really tell them it's just stuff, don't pursue it, right? They kind of have to experience that for themselves.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
where I think the pivotal moment is for people like us to show up as a picture of possibility
Mm.
when they are at that moment, right? To
Mhm.
be there, to be like, all right, cool, you're here. now let's move this way. Like you've
Yeah.
understood the lesson. Now let's go apply that purpose.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I feel like if people are not willing to show up and have these kinds of conversations, someone gets to that and then looks for purpose elsewhere in another thing, right? And then they just start chasing junk, right,
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're 100% right. You start chasing junk, and it's like, for me, you start to, hopefully you start to realize, yeah, there's no junk. And at some point you do have to do the, who am I? What is my purpose? What do I want my journey to be as a part of your journey? Hopefully. Yeah.
Do you think you found your purpose at this point?
Yeah. And it took 45, 6 years to get there. I think along the way it was always there, but I didn't know that it was what it was. And now as have gotten older and had some time to kind of sit with myself, I understand the lethal shooter basketball guys. I understand it now. So
I love that reference. Well, listen, man, I want to thank you for sharing everything you've shared and for your honesty and just this conversation in general. It's been a true honor to me to sit down with you and have this conversation. And again, honor to you for doing what you do and showing up for your family first.
mm,
It's a sad thing, I think,
mm,
that there are not enough men specifically willing to have these conversations. Because I think it leans heavy on emotion. It doesn't lean heavy on the chest beating alpha male that society and social media tend to want to portray as like amazing. But I think it gives us an opportunity to have these conversations and stand out in a way and show up for people in a way that they need to hear. So all that being said, man, I want to honor you for this conversation and for doing what you do and for having achieved the things you've achieved and not letting it get to your head, and for being a man on purpose and for showing up for your family and for yourself, because we need more. So thank you for being that man.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for making this platform so we can have this conversation, because this has been really fun. It's been really cool. I've enjoyed this a lot. So thank you for having me and for
My
making
pleasure. Any
this.
way that we can support you, books, anything else you got coming out, we can support.
Yeah. Actually, I I wrote this book here called Middle Management. And it's new. It's on Amazon. I just launched it maybe a couple weeks or so ago, and it's about finding your purpose in the middle part of life. And it's about the journey that I took when the kids start to grow up. They go to high school, and you're going, "What is my purpose? What do I want to do?" And it kind of, like the other book, it documents that journey, and hopefully it will help someone who may find themselves in the middle of their life going, what do I do now? This helped me find my purpose, and so hopefully it will help someone else find it.
Good. I love that, man. Thank you so much for that. And I will certainly be picking up a copy shortly.
Cool.
So look out for that order to come through. But
Definitely,
again,
that'd be
tremendous
cool.
honor. Thank you so much.